Everybody, my name's Gary. I have a dish channel. This is my latest update. It's been about a year since I last saw you guys, and I just thought I'd ramble for half an hour, come up with some new theories, if you want to call it that, talk about what I think dish is, what I think it causes it, the severity of dish. And something that I haven't talked about in my previous videos is supplements, what supplements I take, the reasons why I take them. So I'll be going into that later on. So the first thing is, if you're a newcomer to my videos, you've probably come to here because you're thinking, what is dish? I want to know more about it. You might have been diagnosed recently. You've gone to a rheumatologist, he's taken some x-rays, he's measured your back, he's prodded you a bit, and he's basically said, yeah, you've got dish. And his answer is, you need to keep moving, you need to do some exercise, you need to take painkillers and anti-inflammatories. And that's basically the medical profession's answer to dish. And you've come away and you're thinking, hang on a minute, we're in the 21st century. Surely the medical profession must know more about dish. Surely they've looked into it, what causes it, and so on and so forth. And the basic answer is no, they haven't. It's not a very investigated disease. There's very little research that's gone into dish. There have been some research programs that have gone on, but they haven't really learnt much, and there's certainly no new drugs or anything like that that's been developed to try and help with dish. The problem with dish is it's a non-inflammatory disease. So if you look at a lot of other arthritic conditions, they're caused by an autoimmune response. So the classic example, and the one that's closest to dish, is ankylosing spondylitis. And a lot of the doctors, I mean, it's unbelievable that some doctors do actually get, when they look at the x-rays, they do actually get confused about the difference between dish and ankylosing spondylitis. Because when you look at the x-ray, the actual slides look very similar. The big difference between dish and ankylosing spondylitis is this: dish is a non-inflammatory disease, whereas ankylosing spondylitis is inflammatory. And because it's inflammatory, the doctors have got more ammunition to be able to fight that disease. Because if they can dampen down the inflammatory response that's in your body, then they dampen down the destruction that it's doing to your spine. So ankylosing spondylitis it's been researched a lot. They realise what causes it, and there are strategies and drugs. I mean, the drugs they use for ankylosing spondylitis are pretty hefty. They're basically damping down your immune system to stop your immune system attacking your body. So what that does then is it opens you up to other infections and things like that. So it comes with its benefits, and it also comes with its downsides. So the question a lot of people ask is, well, is dish inflammatory? The bottom line is no, it's not inflammatory. It's not caused by an inflammatory process. It's something that your body's doing to try and repair damage that's being caused as you get older. So the way I see it is that you get wear and damage to your enthesis. The enthesis are the little strands that join your muscles to your bones. They start to get damaged, they start to go hard, and your body's response to that is to throw some calcium into that area, give it some strength, and then hopefully that will stop any further damage being caused in that area. Now, that is a natural way of a body working. It's part of nature. So as your body wears out, your body tries to repair it. And if you look at people that are in their 70s and above, and you look at X-ray slides and you see damage that's in people's spines and in their hips and so on, there will be signs of dish in 25% of people. So at least a quarter of all people over 70 will actually show signs of dish, which is the body's normal response to damage. Where dish becomes a problem is when there's certain factors within your body or part of your genetic makeup that make it start earlier in terms of what it's trying to do and the severity. So in the case of us that have got dish, it's because that process has started earlier and it's more aggressive in the way it's trying to repair your body. So then you get this buildup of calcium in the various joints, especially in the back, where from the thoracic spine, T9 to T12, you get this buildup of calcium in the enthesial area, and then it starts to flow over the tops of the vertebrae and eventually joins them together. So why do some people start earlier, and why is it more severe in some people in terms of this repair process that the body is trying to do? And I think it's genetic. If you look at going back to ankylosing spondylitis, there's a classic genetic link, and it's called the HLA-B27 gene. In 95% of people that have ankylosing spondylitis, there is a genetic marker, and you'll find that ankylosing spondylitis does run in families. With dish, there's not so much of an idea that the genetics of it really does a lot, but there is some research that says that the HLA-B8 gene is seen a lot more with the people with dish. So, I mean, if you want to, you could go to your doctor and say, look, I want to be tested for HLA-B8. And I don't know, maybe in 70% of people with dish, it might come back and say, yeah, you've got this gene. But what does it mean? It doesn't mean a lot. It just means that maybe you're predisposed to the way your body's repairing itself, and it's gone into overload because of that genetic code. But then also there are other factors that contribute to dish. Dish needs nourishment. It needs something to feed it and to make it work. So that's where the metabolism comes in. So if you've got a metabolic problem, diabetes is a metabolic problem because it's to do with the pancreas, the endocrine system, and basically what happens is with the diabetic is that there is an association again between diabetics and a metabolic disorder and dish, and also there's potentially, I think, a link within the guts. This is very early research in terms of what's going on within the guts, but they've already started making a link, for instance, back to ankylosing spondylitis, because there's more research on ankylosing spondylitis than there is in dish. So because there's more research into ankylosing, they're now discovering that they think that there's a problem within the guts, and then it goes across what's called the gut-brain barrier, and then it gets into your system, and then that's another thing that starts to cause ankylosing spondylitis. So what I'm saying in summary is that all mammals, dogs and cats, humans, fish, whales, they've all been shown in science to actually be able to produce dish. So it's something that's within nature. It's something that happens to repair bodies. But what happens is with people that have got more symptoms and a higher level of dish, is that they've got this other stuff going on, like the genetics, like the metabolic side of it, and also the guts. So that's where the research is going to go. I think that they're probably going to find that there's more of a genetic connection. They're going to find that there's something going on within the guts. I mean, something I read up on is that when you're born, your guts are pretty much the same as your mother's. So, and then within the first couple of years, basically, that is your gut makeup, and it stays with you throughout life. You can influence what's going on within your guts. You can take probiotics, for instance, which help increase the good bacteria. But essentially, what's in your guts is what's been passed down to you by your mother. So I think that with the genetic side of things and with the gut being passed down from your mother, this all leads to a familial connection with dish. So that's why I think that some people get dish more severe than the general population, who, when they get into their 70s and 80s, at least 25% of people are showing that they've got dish. Where do I see myself in that spectrum? I see myself as I've not got dish severely. I think my dish is being brought on by being stupid. And I mean riding motorbikes, racing motorbikes, coming off motorbikes at 100 miles an hour, smashing myself up and things like that. I think that there's definitely, again, if you damage your body, something gets triggered within your body to start repairing. And I noticed that when I came off a motorbike in 2016, a year later I had coccydynia, which is pain in the coccyx. And I went to see a specialist. Cut a long story short, he said, your coccyx is fused. So I thought, strange. And he took some x-rays and he said, by looking at your pelvis, he could see the whiskering on the top of the pelvis, and he could see some signs on the spine as well. And he said, the problem you've got is not that your coccyx is giving you particularly pain due to damage. You've got coccydynia because you've got something rheumatoid. Right, I'm back again. I lost my way a little bit on the coccydynia. So where that went was that the coming off of motorbikes, smash myself to pieces, has caused my dish to go into overdrive. So that's what I was trying to say there before I suddenly lost my way. So that's my ideas on what dish is. Okay, let's recap on what you can do if you've got dish to try and help yourself, some strategies. So the first thing is you've got to keep moving. Don't become dormant. Don't let dish start putting in loads of calcium into the areas, and then imagine it's like glue. Okay, so it's gone into your joint, and at the moment it's liquid. If you sit around and you don't move, that then goes solid. So then you start getting less movement. And then what happens is, before you know it, that builds up and builds up, and then you get less and less movement, and it perpetuates. So what you've got to do is you've got to keep moving whilst that dish is liquid. Think of it that way. So don't allow it to become solid. And the only way you're going to do that is by doing some swimming, some walking. And I know full well that when I go for a walk, it hurts. I did used to do a lot of swimming, and I find that hurts now as well. But you've got to keep doing it. If you don't do it, it's just going to get on top of you. So make sure you keep moving. do some yoga, make sure you stretch. So again, it's to do with those entheses. They're trying to shorten, they're trying to harden, but if you do yoga, what you're doing is just gently stretching those ligaments and trying to keep them moving. So if you do those, in my previous videos, you'll see me doing all these yoga moves. I do those every day religiously because it sets me up for the morning, gets me moving, get to work, get some work done, and then obviously in the afternoon I start to seize up because I've been sat at a table, sat at a desk, staring at a computer all day. So then when I come home, I have a walk, and yeah, by the end of the day, I'm beginning to feel pretty miserable. So yeah, I just then collapse in a heap on the sofa. So keep moving, stretch, yoga. If you're overweight, you've got to lose weight, because again, it's the actual physical weight that's being borne down on your joints is causing wear, and basically this is causing your dish to go into overdrive. So if you are overweight, try and look at what you're eating, try and reduce weight if you can. And when it comes to what we're eating, make sure you eat healthily. So you've heard, again, let me just repeat that carbs are the enemy. Sugar, that's bad news. The more sugar you eat, the more you feed dish. Like sodas, for instance, they're so crammed full of sugar. Fast food links into those bits of your brain that make you feel good. So they give you sugar, they give you salt, but they're bad for you. White wheat is bad for you. Beige food is bad for you. Biscuits. I know it's all the stuff we love, and I'm terrible. I've got a sweet tooth, and I do succumb. And I'll buy myself a pastry, and I'll sit there and but just treat it. When you have something sweet like that, just think of yourself as treating yourself, and then try to back off, and then look forward to another time when you can have a treat. Look after your gut health. Eat plenty of probiotics, yogurts, things like that, and also soft fibre. Make sure that your guts have got fibre to push everything through your system, because if anything's stagnating in your guts, you've heard me mention about guts before, you need your guts to be able to get hold of something, push it through. But also, when you've got fibre within your large intestines or your colon, it feeds the good bacteria, and which is good for your health. So try and lose weight. Keep away from all those bad fast foods. Keep away from all the stuff that's saturated with sugars. And this will all help towards making you feel slightly better with your dish. Okay, so in my previous videos, I talked about my smoothie. I don't know if I mentioned to you before, but this is what I put in my smoothie. This is collagen. You need collagen type 2 because that's the one that feeds your entheses and your ligaments. It gives them the elasticity. Can't even say it. Elasticity. So collagen in your shakes, if you're doing that in the morning with protein, fruit, and moving on to some other supplements that I've got here. Vitamin K2, don't know if you can see that. This is Solgar, and it's vitamin K2 from nano extract. And what K2, it's complicated, and I'm going to skip over this and be as quick as I can, but vitamin K2 deals with calcium. It helps with bone density. And some people sort of say, well, hold on a minute, I don't want something that's going to make my calcium increase. K2 doesn't increase your calcium. What it does is it makes sure that your body's putting it in the right places. Our bodies are putting calcium in the wrong place, as we know. K2 is a vitamin that ensures that the calcium is being put in the right place. So do your research, look into it. You have to take K2 with vitamin D. Vitamin D, again, is all about bone health, bone density, and so on. And those two actually work together. So why don't you just try K2 for a month? Just see how it makes you feel. If you still feel like crap after a month, stop it. At least you've tried it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I just try loads of stuff and just see whether I think it's doing me any good, whether it makes me feel any better. So these are the supplements that I've managed to zone in on. Another important one is magnesium. You need a well-absorbed magnesium. This one's a complex of magnesium. There's loads of different types of magnesium. What magnesium's good for is helping the muscles. It gives the muscles the minerals and the ingredients, for the want of a better word, to repair and also to help them relax, because what you're getting with dish most of the time, and I'm talking about the early part of dish and the medium term of dish, most of the pain that you're getting is muscle pain. Now you might be saying, oh no, it's like nerves, it's it's my nerves. It's not, it's actually muscle pain. Now when dish gets in its final stages, i.e. once it's fused, if it's fused your spine, and in some people it fuses their neck, where that calcium then starts to overflow and go into areas where it's not wanted, what it does is it then starts to impinge on nerves. And one of the classic symptoms, say for dish in your neck, is that you'll get pain down your arm, or you might get a numbness, and that is classic nerve pain, which is caused by the calcium building up in your cervical spine. If you're getting pain, like if you're getting pain in your leg, for instance, it could be just simply a slipped disc, but also with dish build-up, again, it can get into areas of the spine. I think they call it stenosis. So stenosis is the medical term for impingement of a nerve. And if you're getting a pain down the back of your leg, which is your sciatic nerve, the sciatic nerve is a massive bundle of nerves that comes out of your back around about L3, L4, that sort of area. So if you've got build-up of dish in that area and it's touching on that nerve, then you will get pain in your leg and you'll get numbness. But that's what I'm saying, that's a much later stage of dish. What I'm saying is that sort of 70% of the time it takes you to get to that point, a lot of what you're feeling is muscle pain. And the way you deal with muscle pain is heat. So you've seen me wearing my blue thing around my neck. They're great because if you can get warmth into the muscle, it helps the muscles relax. But in terms of a supplement that you can take, obviously magnesium is the one that helps with muscle pain. I went on holiday recently and I forgot to take the magnesium with me. And within 3 days, I was feeling really painful, cranky. I'd been swimming, I'd been walking, and I said to the missus, I said, Christ, this blooming dish is really hurting me at the moment. And she said, well, have you brought all your supplements? Have you brought all your drugs with you? And I said, well, yeah, but the only thing I hadn't brought was this magnesium. So I went to a chemist in Spain, tried to use my Spanish lingo, and I managed to get some soluble magnesium. And within a day of taking that, I started to feel better. Now, whether that's psychological, I don't know, but that's my view on magnesium. Okay, so I've talked about gut health before. I know you're probably thinking, well, he keeps on going on about gut health. Your guts, it's massive. It's like a massive organ, and it does so much. It digests all the food and all the reactions that are going on in there, all the bacteria you've got. It's just massive, and that's going to have an effect on your health. And the only thing you can do is feed it with fibre, which is what I've just mentioned. And I take this one, which is BioCult. By the way, all these I'm showing you are what I get in the UK. No doubt you can get the same thing in the United States. This one's got 14 strains of live bacteria. I take one of those in the morning and take it before you eat and give it a chance to get into your system. So that's feeding good bacteria. And then these last two, you're going to probably think, no, Gary, you've lost the plot, mate. Okay, so here we have parsley. Now, parsley, and there's another one, chamomile. These two herbs, you're probably thinking, what the hell? And I've done a lot of research into parsley and chamomile. And number one, they are... Okay, I just slightly lost it on the parsley, lost my chain of thought. With parsley, and chamomile, they have both got high levels of K2. But in a natural form. So, straight away you're thinking, hang on a minute, K2, parsley, there's something going on there. K2 has also got flavonoids, and flavonoids are quite important in terms of auto responses within the body. It also helps with free radicals. Free radicals in your body are where there's a process that's going on, and by that process there becomes compounds within the body that are bad for you. They're the free radicals. And basically flavonoids, basically it's found in red wine. Flavonoids are a mechanism for reducing those free radicals. They actually get rid of those free radicals. So that's good. But also what you find in parsley and chamomile is something called apegnin. And this is something I've looked into, and apegnin is a great anti-inflammatory, a natural anti-inflammatory. Now, you're probably thinking, hang on a minute, Gary, you said right at the beginning of this video that our condition is not inflammatory. Correct, it's not inflammatory. But what happens is when you get damage to those entheses, the body then produces inflammation as a result. So this is not inflammatory by nature, but what happens as a result of this causes a local inflammation. So what you want to try and do is reduce that inflammation, because inflammation causes pain. Okay, so apegnin is a natural anti-inflammatory. Now, Why is it an anti-inflammatory, you're thinking? Okay, what it does is it mimics, or what it does is it reduces COX-1 and COX-2 in your body. Right, again, I don't want to try and get too complicated, but if you take naproxen, for instance, or ibuprofen, they're both anti-inflammatory drugs. And what they discovered when they first looked into these drugs is that inflammation within the body is caused by COX-1 and COX-2. And what those anti-inflammatories do is they dampen down the body's COX-1 and COX-2 reaction. COX-1 and COX-2 are two different types of things, but they're both inflammatory markers within the body. And if you look at ibuprofen reduces COX-1 and COX-2. Now, unfortunately, COX-1 also has a preventative or a protective thing for your stomach. So if you reduce down COX-1, what happens is you've got less protection within your stomach lining. And that's why when you take ibuprofen, if you take it a lot, the doctors will also prescribe a proton pump inhibitor, which is to stop your acid. Because if your stomach is susceptible, if it's less protected, that acid is going to make your stomach sensitive and it's going to make it raw. So what they do is they give you these proton pump inhibitors. One of them's called omeprazole, for instance. So whenever you're being given ibuprofen, they give you omeprazole as well, and this is to protect your stomach. Another anti-inflammatory that the doctors prescribe is meloxicam or meloxicam. Don't know, I'll have to look that up. Meloxicam, that's it. Meloxicam. Now, meloxicam only inhibits COX-2. So COX-1 is left to try and protect your stomach, but COX-2 is reduced, which is an inflammatory response within the body. So if you have got problems with your stomach and you need to take anti-inflammatories, talk to your doctor about meloxicam, because that is a better drug as an anti-inflammatory, which is less problematic with your stomach. Anyway, we digress. Parsley and chamomile have a pectin, and a pectin is shown in studies to reduce COX-1 and COX-2 in the body, which is an inflammatory process. So by taking those on a daily basis, what you're doing is you're giving your body a natural way of reducing inflammation, rather than relying on things like naproxen and meloxicam. So that's why I'm taking those two supplements. It's not to say that I hit the naproxen. I do. We all know that there's certain things that can trigger dish to feel worse. We know that the weather, for instance, low pressure. Suddenly, when I went to Spain, it was high pressure all the time. The weather was nice, and I can probably say that my dish was a lot less painful when I was there. As soon as I come back to England, you've got the low pressures, you've got all the bad weather, and then I felt my dish again. So yeah, there's the weather conditions. Stress. If you're stressed out and you're having a bad time, it just amplifies the dish, makes you feel even worse. And also, if you're doing too much, like sometimes I have to do a photo shoot on location somewhere, so I'm lumping all this heavy camera equipment, lights, I'm trying to direct models in terms of what they've got to do and all the rest of it. It gets very stressful, and without fail, I'm in a lot of pain by the end of the day, and I usually end up taking naproxen. I end up usually taking a painkiller of some sort. So we know, I think you'll learn as time goes on what makes dish more painful. It's not to say that, you know, that pain's not, it's there quite a lot of the time. Sometimes you can cope with it, sometimes you can't. So what these supplements I'm suggesting do is they give your body the ammunition that it needs to be able to deal with the symptoms that dish is not, they don't stop dish. What they do is they help with the symptoms of dish. K2, as I said, directs the calcium to where it should be. Collagen helps with the elasticity of your entheses and your ligaments so that you can move a bit more, keep yourself fluid. Magnesium to help with the muscle pain. The bacteria, live bacteria for your guts, to feed your guts. Oh yeah, there's one last one I've got here. This is quite expensive actually, get it in the UK. But this is a supplement of collagen. So when I have my smoothie, I have collagen powder, and then the next day I don't have a smoothie, but I take one of these. And this has got collagen, glutamine, and chondroitin, whatever that is, vitamin, but it's got vitamin D and vitamin C, E, and B12. But it has got type 2 collagen. So that's where I'm getting my collagen from. Okay, that's about it really. Some of you might be saying, you know, where am I in my dish experience? I think that when I first was diagnosed with dish, I was angry, and I wouldn't be surprised that you're feeling the same. You're thinking, why have I ended up with dish? What have I done? You know, you start getting stupid stuff going through your brain, like, you know, is God punishing me, or is it, you know, is it a lifetime? You know, what have I done to deserve this? The best thing to do is to try and put that out of your brain, because the more you punish yourself, the worse you're going to feel. And I must admit, it took me a little while to sort of get over that and start being a bit more pragmatic about dish and how I can deal with it. So I think it's fair to say that dish is progressing. I'm certainly feeling a lot worse than I did when I first got diagnosed. But I've now reached a stage where I've got dish, nothing I can do about it. There's strategies that I'm using to try and give me just extra time to be able to keep mobile and to keep moving, to try and reduce the pain. Please look at my other videos, use these strategies. I'm hoping that they'll give you some respite from dish. And that's it really. And you just have to get on with it, I'm afraid. You just have to stop punishing yourself, stop beating yourself up, and just say to yourself, look, it could be something worse. It's painful, I know it is, and being in pain every day gets you down, it makes you pissy, you know, a bit snappy sometimes. And I think you do have to explain that to people close to you. You need, every now and then, you just have to say, look, I'm sorry I'm being a bit pissy today, but I've been in pain, you know, and I'm sure they'll understand. So that's it really for today. I hope that you've gained some information from me today. Please go away and try some of these. If you do have any successes, or if you've got something else you want to add to the party, please, you know, in my YouTube, you can make comments. I do try and answer all the comments that I get, and thank you for those of you that have said, you know, thank you for making these videos. It's something that I want to try and do. It's something I want to try and help people. So if something out of all of this has helped you, then please let me know, because then it just makes me feel a bit better anyway. Okay, that's it for today, folks. Hope you have a good day. I'll speak to you soon.